Get ready for truth bombs and guidance from conservative leaders and entrepreneurs from God-fearing, freedom-loving, truth-telling, patriotic Americans. Welcome to Patriots with Grit. Now let's jump into today's episode with your host, Darren Ross.
Look what this girl went and did.
I am absolutely amazed, Randy. So we ran onto our guest today about 2 weeks ago. I was scrolling through social media, and there was a gal on there that had posted had a Facebook post, and she had this song that just recently came out called Trump Won. I'm like, well, that sounds kind of intriguing. I'm going to play it. So I played it, then I played it again, then I played it again. Then I hopped on my Spotify and got on the treadmill, and I played it like 9 times. So I decided, I'm going to try to get this guest on our show. And I'm like, it's not going to happen. She's a country music star. She's not going to know who Patriots with Grit is. So, I couldn't find a phone number, couldn't do anything. So I'm like, I'm just going to hit her up on Messenger. Of course, I did that, and I get an automatic reply back. I figured it was a Facebook bot. And like 20 minutes later, she's like, sure, I'd love to come on your show and be a guest. So, here we have today one of the most awesome songs I've ever heard in a long time, created by none other than Natasha Owens, who created the song Trump Won.
Yeah, she went and the heads of the liberals blew off with this.
It was absolutely amazing. I love the song. It's fantastic. I can't tell you how many times I've played it and sent it to people I know. So
here we go.
Here we go.
Mental fitness, what he's doing now.
Patriots fill stadiums, how circles in an empty room. Twitter and the FBI, one day won't deny. Trump won and you know it. Trump won and you know it. The fake news will never show it, 'cause it's true. Trump won and you know it. Always gonna tell.
Votes in Fulton County were counted more than once.
I bet he took New York and carried California as well. He's done it twice before, and he's gonna win again for the 3rd time in 2024. Trump won and you know it. Trump won and you know it. News won't even show it. It's true. Trump won and you know it. Trump won and you know it. If there's a line, they're gonna tow it. It's true. Trump won and you know it. I know it, you know it, we know it, they know it. Everybody knows Trump won. I know it, you know it, we know it. Everybody knows Trump won. I know it, you know it, we know it, they know it. Everybody knows Trump won.
Wow, that is awesome.
That makes me want to get on the treadmill again.
It makes me want to dance like
You're scaring me there. How you're identifying there, Natasha, tell us exactly, how did you, this is your 6th studio album, correct?
Yeah, American Patriot is.
So walk us through this. I mean, you've made a lot of songs or created a lot of songs, a lot of albums over the years. What made you just come right out and say, "Hey, I'm going to create just a hard-charging conservative song about Trump won," which everybody knows it. I mean, everybody across the country, if they don't know it, they're living under a rock. But what gave you the inspiration for this?
The American Patriot album came out last year. Trump One is not on there yet, but it will be because I'm doing a deluxe version by the end of the year. I'm putting Trump One as well as 4 or 5 more controversial songs coming out, so stay tuned. I just wanted to, I was part of President Trump's Faith Initiative team, and I was raised to love this country and know that with all of its faults, we're still the best country in the world, the beacon of hope that sits on the hill that everyone gravitates to. And when COVID hit, we all saw that our Bill of Rights, the Constitution, was kind of suspended and our freedom was taken away in a lot of ways. And so I came out of COVID and I said, you know what? We have to do an album that puts a spotlight on how valuable our freedom is and what sacrifice our military and our soldiers and their families went through to secure our freedom. So that was the brainchild behind American Patriot. My husband said 2 years ago, we need to write a song called Trump Won because everybody knows it. And so some of the words of this song we've been saying for 2 years around our home. I wanted to wait till a little bit more proof came out. I knew it in my gut. We all knew it. But when 2000 Mules came out, suddenly we've had a landslide of things that proves to me that Trump did win. And so I said, okay, I'm ready to stand on that platform of truth and just give a little bit of spotlight on something that we've been censored for, that we're not allowed to say, that they have tried to keep hidden. I wanted to give a voice to the people who felt like that they couldn't say it. So that was why we did Trump Won.
So you've toured with all kinds of Christian artists throughout your career, all over the country, some big names. Give us some names you've actually gone on tour with, Natasha.
Michael W. Smith, Cutlass, Seventh Time Down, Austin French, Point of Grace, Jason Crabb in the Southern Gospel World. Let's see, Plum, Danny Goki, Matthew West, Lord, the list, Jeremy Camp, the list just goes on and on. I have been blessed to be with some just greats of our genre throughout the years.
I know we've taken our girls every January, well, not the last couple of years, but over the last years to Winter Jam, where a lot of those artists were performing there year after. And I don't know, were you ever on the Winter Jam tour by chance?
No, I was offered to be on it this year, but to sing like one song, and I'm like, that's such a sacrifice of 3 months worth just to go out for one song, so I declined. I knew it would be a busy year with Trump One coming out.
Well, how long have you been touring?
Let's see, 10 years. My career started 10 years ago. It started kind of backwards, and I've gotten a little bit of flack in the contemporary Christian market because I didn't pay my dues, right? My very first concert. God's been the details of my story, and I opened for Michael W. Smith on a massive stage, and it just started from there.
Wow. Well, normally I wear just regular attire for these interviews, but I thought, since we're talking patriotic and in honor of your song today, I wanted to dress up a little bit more patriotic with USA attire. So I hope you're okay with my outfit choice today.
I love it. I usually wear a flag jacket, but I've worn it so much the past 2 weeks that it had to go to the cleaners. So I'm not in USA attire, but I normally am. I love your jersey.
Well, thank you. Talk to us a little bit, Natasha, about what spurred you to kind of get in this entertainment world. I know you when I was reading your bio earlier on, I read the story about, unfortunately, what happened to your father. Talk to us a little bit about that and how that was the driver to help you get along down this entertainment path.
Yeah, it wasn't anything I planned for myself. God's always in the details, and always in the details of second chances. 13 years ago, my dad was cleaning his gun sitting at a table, and one went off and hit him in the heart, and he died very instantly. And I downspiraled into depression after a year after his death because I was so angry and I questioned why. And I spoke death into my situation. I caused it. And so 6 months into my depression, my pastor called and asked me to be a music minister. And I said, I struggle with severe anxiety. I come from a musical family. I just always wanted to take the back seat. I never wanted that spotlight to be on me, which is crazy because look what I'm doing now. God always calls us out of our comfort zone, I think. He looks at it. She has severe anxiety. Check. I know exactly where I'm going to put her. in the forefront with the spotlight. So it was a training ground. I said no to him several times. He called back, and I wouldn't be alive today if God hadn't crossed my path when he did. I had anxiety. I had depression. I wasn't equipped or qualified for that type of position, but I took it because I felt like it was my last lifeline. And God saved me. It took years to dig out, but my contemporary Christian career started a couple years after that, and it's a whole long story. It's a God thing. God's in the details. My very first concert was on a big stage with Michael W. Smith on my dad's birthday. So my dad's just kind of, I think God had to put certain things out there because he knew I had anxiety and knew that I needed to know that's the path to walk. And it equipped me for what I'm doing now. And every CD in my contemporary Christian career has been another chapter of my recovery, from making it through something to rising above to being a true warrior and standing on a firm foundation. So that has been my career that I have walked. I haven't necessarily wanted it, but God has helped me along the way. And I still struggle with anxiety, but at least I can get up and minister and talk to people now. I mean, at least I've overcome that and overcome depression.
Man, if I had anxiety, which if I stood in front of 50,000 people, I would have anxiety. I'd probably wet myself. I mean, I would freeze. I would freeze. I don't know how you overcame that. I mean, but you're confident. You know that you've got a great voice. It's not like me trying to get up there and howl. You know that you've got a great voice.
Sure, you've got a good voice too.
Oh, no,
I don't
no.
know. It happened so quickly, and I was scared to death. I felt like I was a kindergartner running with a bunch of college professors, but I was expected to know exactly what they knew, because the stage, you're in a professional world, there's not a lot of room for messing up. And so that got me a little bit. The hardest time still is 30 minutes before a show until I hit the first note. Once I hit the first note, God just seems to take over. Yep. And I'm better. But boy, it's a mind game just to get on that stage every time.
So talk to us, Natasha. What's, we hear and we see and we read all this stuff in the media, or hear stuff on social media about, entertainment, whether it's in Hollywood or whether it's in Nashville. Is there a distinct difference if you're a performer or an entertainer in the Hollywood area versus in Nashville? Or is it kind of all just melt together?
At this point, the day that we live in, it's all melting together. The country market, I can't really talk for them because I haven't really been in country. I know you have some progressives like Maren Morris and a few others that have been vocal. For the most part, I think they're pretty conservative at heart. The contemporary Christian market is one that is very complicated. I think artists can be one thing on stage and get off the stage and be someone different. And their crowd doesn't know. It's very, Nashville is very progressive. It's very anti-Trump. And the churches have become very progressive. They have sacrificed their values. They are very liberal at heart and very democratic rather than Republican or conservative. And so I've gotten a lot of flack in Nashville for not only doing a patriotic album, but doing a Trump One album because it's very anti-Trump, and doing a Stand for Life, pro-life song. I am considered the artist that is too risky because I'm too pro-life. Just think about that for a second. I've had contemporary Christian radio stations try to get me knocked off of certain events because they think I'm too controversial on my pro-life stance.
Then where does that put them?
Unbelievable.
Well, we are in the nation is in the crisis that it's in today because the church has been silent. Glenn Beck says it the best. He says, not to act is to act. And you make a conscious decision, and they're so worried about the cancel culture and being called certain words in the book that that has silenced them. And in the meantime of that, they have been very progressive in their values. And so I am very unapologetic when it comes to my Christianity, when it comes to my stance on pro-life and my backing for President Trump. And so I just said, you know what? We have to stand up for truth and what's right. And that's what I'm doing. And that was, I was warned not to do a Trump One song. And I don't care what wins I get. It was the right thing to do.
Well, you said something that caught my attention, that Nashville is progressive. Is this the entertainers? Or is this the, I don't know, I'm going to call it the administration, the managers, the system, recording art, or the
industry?
everybody. Everybody. It is, you have to understand when the streaming came into play several years ago, it bankrupted an industry like Christian, because you get 70 cents for a million streams, whereas you used to get $1 million for a million downloads, right? So it's a big difference these days. And so it's a business. It's a big business. They got rid of all their record execs, and they brought in people from California and Hollywood, and people that could turn a dollar, right, to try to squeeze out as much money as they can, because they were losing a lot. And so I think that's where it started. My personal opinion, and this may not be politically correct to say, but in the Bible, the devil's job in heaven was he was a music minister. And I've always seen the devil work on a platform and in the music industry. And I think that's why it's hit this industry. And whether the people aren't praying enough or reading their Bible enough or whatever it is, they have turned progressive. Even my Christian friends who are in Nashville, they don't talk like they did 5 years ago. It is definitely leaning towards the left of, they think that they have to be Christian. They have to accept everything. And Jesus was very controversial because he called out the sin, but he did it with such love and restoration, mercy and grace that the sinners flocked to him. And so that's how we have to be an example of Christ. We can't sit back and be silent and just let the morals and the values of this country be destroyed. It's the church's fault.
Well, one of the pastors that I follow and like a lot, he says that too many churches, too many pastors are afraid of offending the alphabet cult. And they're so worried about their skinny jeans, fog machines, and big screens that they're afraid to speak the gospel and to speak the truth. They just want to appeal to everybody, whether it's, they don't want to rock the boat with, LGBTQ, XYZ, or pro-life, or transgen, or COVID, or the vax. They just want to, just maintain. And we had a 30-year chaplain on here several months ago, and I said, Ray, listen, he was the chairman of Public School Exit. He lives in South Carolina. I said, Ray, tell me, what's the deal with these pastors? Why are they so weak? Why are they so scared? I said, is it because of their the fear of losing congregation, fear of losing tithe, afraid of the 501c3? And in a Southern accent, he said, Darren, you know what, man? They just want to be liked. They just want to be liked. And I'm like, that's it right there. They just want to be liked. And I always say our biggest problem in America is not left-wing lunatic liberals. It's conservative, comfortable, complacent Christians.
Right. We're lazy. We're lazy Americans. And the Christian community is at fault for why we are where we are, based on the fact that 45 million evangelicals are not even registered to vote. And 65 million do not vote on off presidential elections. And so if they would just do their part in voting, we would never, ever be leaning left. So it's their fault. They need to start doing their part.
Well, and I didn't realize any of this. I mean, I grew up, I had a company for about 31 years, started in college, raised our girls. Been in church my whole life, public schools, all this stuff. I didn't realize any of this was going on until 3 years ago this month with COVID. I mean, I was a sleeper. I was a sleeper conservative Christian. I had no clue. Did you, Randy?
No.
I had no idea. But I always say the day they put a mask on my kids was the day I took my head out of the sand and said, something's up, man. Something's off. I smell a rat. And that's when we started digging and realizing that, something is way off. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of it, we started in the public education sector. Then we started digging into the churches. And I'm like, I had no idea the churches were so weak.
Absolutely. We have become so complacent. And I hope my voice, that's the one thing that I've been on the road for the past year, just trying to motivate the Christians, trying to do my part. What can we do to bring awareness that this is the situation, and that it is a fight between good and evil at this point. It's not Republican or Democrat. We have to step up and do our part to save our country. Christians believe the lie that church and state should not intersect. And granted, states should not tell churches how to run, but we have to have that center influence of biblical principles in our government, because when you don't have enough Christians represented in the government, you're seeing what's happening. The Christians are trying to be pushed out. This is a war right now on Christianity, and we're going to lose all of our rights plus our Christianity if we don't wake up.
Yeah, in a little bit off topic, we were talking about Nashville in general. But that really kind of hit me. I'm not a big country music fan, but I still like it. So when you think about country music, you think about the country people, the good old boys in the Midwest and the South and all that stuff. It just baffles me that what's the word? Not oral.
I agree, man. I totally agree.
I don't know what the word
I'm
is,
with
but everything we thought is completely opposite.
Well, not so much in country. Like I said, I can't really talk about that genre. From the people that I see and meet in country, they're just good old boys with good foundational. You've got some issues with some of the younger females, right? But for the most part, the country music scene, genre of music, I think is in a much better place than contemporary Christian. I don't really think I'm going to have a home to go back to because I've been very vocal about it. But I have to call it out. When I have musicians quit playing for me because of the Trump One song and because of my patriotic.
No way.
Oh yeah.
You mean like your band members?
Oh yeah, and then we have other band members that have reached out to me because they were point blank asked who they voted for, and when they said Trump, they were fired and their phone stopped ringing. They've been professional musicians for 20 years in Nashville.
No way.
So it is a huge, huge, huge battle. But you know what? I would rather speak up and be ostracized and say the right thing than to go along and shake my head and go along with it, because you've got artists in contemporary Christian that refuses. Everybody that boards their buses have to be completely vaccinated and boosted. That's where we're at. And I'm picking up some musicians because they're refusing to be vaccinated. And I'm like, we still live in America, folks. There's no way.
Parallel society. It's coming.
Unbelievable. Natasha, we're going to take a quick break to hear from one of our sponsors real quick. We're going to be right back. I want to talk about and pick up where you're about these band members and your backup musicians, how hard it is to get and keep those because of their stance and political beliefs. We're going to be right back. Our government is printing money at an unprecedented rate. Inflation and financial fear are at an all-time high, and the fiat dollar and economy are going to crash. Whether you're a collector or investor and want to diversify and protect yourself against hard times, or just have real money in your hand, then buy your precious metal